Someone was doing multiple damage. Okay, so it does actually kind of matter, sort of, how many you actually hit with. Okay, let's just calm down and see what comes next, alright? Ryu, thank God you're safe. Wrong Yor. Let's go, Father. Let's get out of this temple. Wait. Before we do, the demon statues. We've got to throw them from the temple while we've still got time, before the black moon shines. Ryu, what's that? It's the black moon! We should throw them now! Is it a lunar eclipse? That must be it. That's what the black moon meant. 5 seconds ago when he said that. Oh no, the demon statue! Oh no, that sounds real bad. Is that both the statues combining to one? Oh my god, attack! Attack, attack, attack! I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my god, stop. Stop. Wait, am I not supposed to hit this thing part that I'm hitting? Am I supposed to hit the tail? Why is none of this doing any damage? Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I'm faking out right now. Oh, the head gets off. Okay. And then you hit this? Okay. Oh my god. Okay. And does the head come back ever, or... Oh my god, what am I doing? This does so much damage, holy lord! The question is, what happens if I die here? What? And the answer is, we're going to find out! Ah! But the follow-up question is, does it make me do Jokyo again when I get back there? I guess we'll see. As anticipated, I totally forgot to end the episode when we laid the final hit on Jokyo. I was just too full of adrenaline, so there'll be a nice, sweet dun 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 to be continued for you there. Alright, okay, I get the deal with that. The head's got its own health bar, you get that off and then you go for the gut, but the tail is like whippy, so you gotta jump over the tail, cut, and then like angle back, all while avoiding the splashy stuff. But it doesn't look like it's gonna be all that, it's not all that technical, really. It's just like, run away from the stuff. It's not like technical in the same way that, 3-3? Yeah, 3-3 is. Where it's like you gotta like be ready to cut the bullets, and you have to do that a little preemptively, and you have to kind of like preempt the jumping. Or indeed 4-4, where it's like there's only one of them that's a real one, so you gotta kind of like avoid them both. Well, like it's not complicated like that. It's just like there's a lot of stuff flying around. Hit it and don't get hit. Honestly, even if we do have to do Jokyo again, that's not gonna be that bad, because we can do that strat we just pulled again, and then show up there with all our health. Oh my god, I'm getting obliterated here. That was abysmal. Why is that one down there? Yeah, like having no idea what to do on that boss fight, since it refilled my health, I had a decent bit of time to fuss around and work at it. So we even had a decent shot at it that first time, so even if it does make us do Jokyo again, that won't be that bad. But if it doesn't, it's gonna be even better. Because I can show up with superpowers, and that'll be a lot easier. For now, I'm just gonna treat it as though Jokyo does come back and try and get there with a lot of spirit fire, throwing fire. That was the first time I ever got through that bit without taking damage, though. Sweet. He's learning, he's learning. You pause a little there, and then you get this one, and then you let this one jump over you, and then you just keep going. Oh my god, it came back from the bottom of the screen there. That was awesome. And, I mean, in a sort of, like, scary way, because it's the bad guy, but I also managed to land on that platform and get the item without taking out that knight. That was weird, but also awesome. I've developed some cool strategies here that don't involve using any of the items on the way up, so that we can save some mana, which is awesome as far as I'm concerned. I'm very happy about it. And with doing it this way, I can still get my potion, so get there with like full, good health, and 75 mana is pretty good. It's no 80 like what we had before, but then what is? Well, the 80 we had before, but you know what I mean. Point is, this is pretty good still. Hard to complain about. Did that actually hit me before? Oh, okay, just go straight back to this. Okay, right, maybe I should cut this thing off before because it starts spewing more when... No, maybe I just spam... Spirit fire. Okay. Okay. It's like bleeding purple murder blood on us. I hate it. It's very alien, isn't it? Oh my god, this is gonna be close! Ah, no, it's not. Good to know, it just brings you right back to this fight. That's not that bad, then. Again, I would have preferred that it just keep you on 6-3 when you die or game over, but that you had to do all of the fights in one go. Because it wouldn't have been that bad, and it would have meant I got to interface with the bosses a little more. rather than just like try and, because I don't want to repeat the level like 50 times, I just show up with like the most broken set of projectiles I can. So I think small shurikens is the way, right? We'll be able to throw so many this way, and that means if we can just stay back away from the, where the blood spews out of. Would have been cool to get more than one boss on one continue, but hey, it's the game who decided to give me the free jump ahead to whatever boss I was on last, so I would be willing to bet that this is the last phase. It looks pretty last, doesn't it? A giant murder demon born of the statues. The main bad guy, Jockio's already gone down. This is like classic last boss stuff. It's been a minute since I did that. Where did the drums go? Oh, there they are. The sword was still using them, I guess. Because the NES only has so many sound channels, the sound effects often take instruments out of the music, and I guess if you die while your sword is doing that, then the drums, like, stay occupied by the sword. Until you hit with your sword again. Because I've noticed that a few times where, like, the drums will, like, not be there for a bit. That bird saved my life. Oh, no, it didn't. Then it took it away. Damn it, I'm getting all fatigued now from having played so much in one sitting that 6-2 is suddenly giving me trouble again. But I only need to get to 6-3 one more time, probably, because I'm probably gonna wreck it, like knock it out of the park once I get there with a million mini shurikens. It does not look like it's going to be that difficult if you show up there with a lot of the smaller shurikens, because the murder blood doesn't seem to reach that side of the screen very well. So if you just hide on one side of the screen with a million shurikens, and if we get there with 75 again, mana, that's what, 23? 21, I think. No, sorry. 20 would be 60, so 75 I said? So that would be... Sorry, I'm trying to focus on it. 60 is 20 of the small shurikens, because they're 3 verts, and then 25. There'd be 25 shurikens if it's got 16 health, the core of it, and that skull had about 10, was it? 26, so we only need to actually hit it with the sword once to finish it off, which will be really dramatic. Well, I mean, that's... I'm really estimating there on what the numbers were, but point is, we could do it almost entirely with shurikens, which would be very ninja-like of us. See like a scary enemy, be like, no thanks, I'm gonna throw some stuff at it. Again, our father told us to be always brave, but he lost, so we take his advice with a grain of salt. Why all the birds? Too many birds. I don't know why it's so funny to me. It's just, I guess it's just like, it's such an anticlimax when you miss a jump. It's just like, oh. The fact that you do all this other stuff, like these crazy acrobatic feats, and then just suddenly fall into a hole. It's just like, oh, okay. Fortunately, getting the small shurikens will make it easier to get this martial artist, because you just... Oh, I didn't mean the big ones. Okay, well, too late. I probably should have just died there, but too late. Getting the head without getting bled on isn't all that hard, I guess. Although when it charges off, that's hard to avoid. Oh, it's kind of hard to... This shuriken doesn't go as far, obviously. Yeah, small shurikens would have been way easier. Okay, that was just my reflexes kicking in and being like, no, attack, 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 twice in a row. I didn't have to do that. I could have ducked under that next martial artist. Good news is I don't need to worry about doing 6-2 really well anymore, really, because if I'm doing it with little shurikens, there's no way I'm going to even be able to use all 75 of my mana. So it's not like the mana is going to be the bottleneck, probably. So it's not like I need to do 6-2 really well to show up to 6-3 with a lot of lives and mana. At the very least, I'm glad I never died to our masked father. That would have been so traumatizing for him to have to kill us by his own hand. It's much more narratively satisfying that I save him and then immediately died on the next thing. And we got to die together. I believe I looked it up, and the secret agent's name is Irene Liu. Or something like this. She probably will introduce herself in a bit. You'd hope they introduce themselves to each other after this. That's so easy if you just know what to do. It's crazy how much of this game is like that, where it's like, that actually isn't that hard to avoid with a cool head. I know I said I didn't have to carry on from Chapter 2 to get here with a good amount of mana, but look how much mana I have. This is so cool. I'm not about to keep it, but... Dude, I want to... Does it max out at 99, or can you get to 101? I want to see. Maxes out at 99. Awesome. We have the max mana. Actually, maybe does it make sense to try it with max mana and throwing fire? Not really, does it? Not that I'm not curious how it would be, but it makes sense to get here with more health and then, like, 75 small shurikens. We're not gonna, like, run shurikens and be like, oh no, what do we do? If we do run out of shurikens, it's gonna be like, oh no, we ran out of shurikens and they've only got 3 health, but we have all ours, so we can go and just cut them and it'll be awesome. I'll just die here. Oh, they can't get me here. Look at that. Way, way more important, I think, that we get there with a lot of health than, like, a few more small shurikens, considering how cheap the small ones are. And that they are the ideal weapon because they're the only one that goes, like, across the whole screen. And it's not like they do any less damage than the fire or the big shuriken, I don't think. I got a good feeling about this time. A sweet 25 shurikens. I don't know why I didn't just divide 75 by 3 earlier. That would have been so much easier than the math I was doing. And we're gonna go get the small shuriken, duck under you. Ooh, okay, that went pretty well, all things considered. I'm gonna do this goal a bit with the sword anyway. Ooh, okay. Oh boy, okay, maybe now I'm starting to miss. Oh wait, I'm already at 1 health? Oh my god, does that do a lot of damage or what? Jeez. Was I not near full health? No, I guess I wasn't that near. That was not good, Admiral. Actually, maybe it's easier if you stay close to it. God damn it. I couldn't get down there with them there. Your aerial attack goes in front of you, so there's no way to, like, attack below me. I guess I could have climbed up and then gone around. Didn't notice that when it respawned. Yeah, see, the drums are all not here, but if I slash... Well, maybe I have to actually explode someone. Yeah, there we go. It's the enemy defeated noise that was hanging onto the drums, I guess. Right, made it to the screen with a ludicrous amount of mana, but this amount of health is not going to cut it for me. I don't like it. So I'm going to just grab a little more and then deliberately die. 99 is the max I can have. I'll take that. Obviously, we would have had way more altogether had I gotten here just with 75 and not died. Even though getting here with 99 is probably the more impressive feat. But 69, actually, which is what it'll be, which is 23, is still pretty good. Hard to argue with. Health is much more important at that point, I would think. Ex-friend despawn. This... Oh, how did I hit the thing but not the... Oh, no. Okay, could have been worse. I'm just gonna stay far away this whole time this time. Yeah, that does a lot of damage. Holy. I think the trouble with not... I can't believe I got hit by that so many times in a row. Trouble with doing the shurikens is you have to jump every time. Well, I guess you're jumping every time for a sword strike too, so why does it feel like the shurikens are slower? I don't understand. Oh, maybe I'm getting 2 hits per jump if I'm doing it with the sword. Maybe that's why. So maybe sword is the way. Maybe sword is the way, at least for the skull, and then back up and do the shurikens. Or I should just get good at dodging. It is that core you have to hit. I can't just hit the tail, right? Once the skull is gone, I mean? I assume, because why would you remove the skull and then hit the tail? That's just silly. Because if it were the tail, then I could duck and spam, and that would be able to deal damage really fast. Trouble here is that I'm doing it so slow that I have to survive the blood for a really long time, and it does like 4 damage per or whatever. It does at least 3, I wasn't really counting. That's a new one. That bat followed me the whole way. That bastard. Oh, I hit the tail. I wasn't even looking at the tail, I was looking at all the blood. That's not gonna work out well doing it. It's I gotta do it with the sword. Or maybe spirit fire. Maybe Maybe get the skull up with sword and then just spam Spirit Fire while standing down there. Because sometimes that Spirit Fire hits twice, right? It's like the good stuff. It depends how big the target is, I think, or how many times it hits. Easily. Okay, because divvied 5 ways, 75 still 15 hits with the Spirit Fire, so if I de-skull it with the sword, I can do 15 of its 16 health with the Spirit Fire, maybe more if we get lucky and some of them do that sort of double hit thing. I don't really know what the circumstances around making that happen are, but this hopping from a distance and throwing the shurikens is not going well. Not least because the blood can intercept them, which I wasn't calculating for. You can't throw the fire very fast, like there is an upper limit to how quickly you can throw it, but at least you don't have to jump. Throwing fire, not Spirit Fire. I gather there's no point in adhering to the names because I'm the one who made them. It's not like there's an actual appropriate name I'm using here. The question is, does it take so long between throwing fires that I should be going alternating throwing fire and sword? Or is it worth just staying on the ground to wait for the cooldown? I kinda want to practice to find out, but I don't have enough magic to really do that. What if I just, like, run back to over this side of the stage? Okay, so if I'm like, going like... Oh, no, okay, definitely, it's way faster to just stay on the ground and do that. Cool. Good. That clears that up. No need to be alternating. I couldn't remember if it was so long that you had to go like whoosh, and you had to wait like 3 seconds to the point that it would make more sense to just go throwing fire sword, throwing fire sword. Really cool of them to give a health potion right at the last screen before the boss there, though. Hope this boss doesn't resist spirit fire or anything. Oh, again, I hit the candle above that one, but not that one. That's so weird that can happen. When you consider the geometry of that. I mean, I guess their sword is more upright than mine, so it doesn't make no sense, but it's just weird. Feels excellent when you get that. Really, really stupendous and terrific and all those things. Those 2 candles and that armored knight and the bird. Okay, pretty good. 75 full health. I almost missed the hourglass. I did miss the hourglass, so that almost went horribly, but... Okay, now I've already got Spirit Fire, so I just don't hit any of the candles on the way. Could have been worse. I think the skull seems to be best with the sword, and then... This is not doing any damage. Why did half of those do no damage? I don't know. I will say that I was throwing slower there than before because the fire did not despawn as quickly. Was what I was doing. He throws 3 rings. One of them intercepted, the 2 kept going, and I threw again. And no, I don't know. I don't know why those like half of those didn't do anything. How could they have missed? Or does it just have a ridiculous amount of health? I kind of want to pause the recording and look back on it, but I don't want to risk messing anything up. Now that we're this close. I'm just gonna try that again without dying as hard. That's stupid. I'm just gonna look at the footage now. Alright, let me see what the hell is going on here. Oh, I think maybe the tail blocked it? I don't know, it's like one of these times he just only threw 2 of the discs instead of the usual 3. And then I proceeded to continue throwing them. Oh, yeah, okay, so I think if you're standing too close... Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding what I'm trying to hit here. I think if you're standing too close, you go like under the target you're trying to hit, which is like kind of closer to its face than the orb thing. I was aiming for the orb, so I was like trying to get in real close, but like half of those hits I did straight up did not hit, and I was not cognizant of that, and it was all because I was aiming at the like lower. Okay, I understand. I'm glad I looked at that, because that was not at all clear to me. I assumed the big glowing ball was what I was trying to hit, but it seems it isn't. It's another advantage I have over those from the 80s playing this, being able to just quickly record it and watch it back like that. Because otherwise, I would have no way of knowing that was the problem unless I, like, went there and deliberately sacrificed my life just to, like, experiment. So again, since it's got 16 health, if I get this right, then I just have to hit it with 15 of those and then deal the last blow with, the sword, which will be so cinematic and everything. Alright, with that newfound knowledge, I'm feeling pretty good about our chances. Maybe not this precise singular time, but let's find out, shall we? I love it when I get to despawn that one. That feels so much better than, like, I would just sort of thrash about and try and catch it. Didn't need that potion at all. I did all that without taking damage. That was awesome, actually. I wasn't even really thinking about it, but that was awesome. Right, cool. 75. Let's give it another go. I don't know why I didn't wait till you were gone. Okay, that one pretty good. I usually don't get hit with that much health. Let's make it count. Just throw fire. Cleanse it with holy flame. Ninja fire technique. Get out of here, you foul! Oh, I did that the wrong way. Anyway, we win! No, we win though. Okay, good. Yeah! Sweet! Okay, yeah. Little preparation goes a long way on that one. Wake up, Father! Wake up! Yeah, but you were awake a moment ago.
Yeah, I haven't got much longer. This temple is about to break apart. Take that woman and escape.
Father, you can't say that anymore. It's 1989.
What are you saying, Father?
I can't just leave you. I can carry two people at once.
Yeah, you're a man now. My destiny is tied to the demon statue. Yeah. Good luck.
Father! 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 Sorry about it, Ken. Oh, these NES games did know how to give you a feast for the eyes at the end, though, didn't they? Oh. Bask. Bask, my friends. For our journey is end draws nigh. For the time being. I spat all over my CRT. Oh, they just let you, like, sit in it, too. Just watch it all crumble. I don't even normally relish in destruction, but justice prevails! Sorry about it, Pa. Wow, we look kind of similar.
Here.
Oh, is that Morse? I don't understand Morse.
This is Sea Swallow.
This is Foster. We detected the explosion from the satellite.
Return of Admiral's a horrible American accent.
Job well done. You are to kill your Hayabusa.
What? No, hey, wait, we're friends. Don't. Irene, don't, and let's nod and say we did.
What? Kill you?
That's right. Then you are to steal the demon statue.
So this was your plan all along. I'll get you for this, Foster.
Yeah.
I get two kinds of payment. The first I have already received. The second is you, Foster. You... wait. You... What is the payment you've already received?
Well, I mean, the whole vengeance thing with my father and stuff.
She's right in front of me.
You what? It's the 80s. If there's an action piece of media that stars a man and a woman, they get together.
I don't even know your name.
I don't even know your name.
Irene. Irene Liu. Well, Irene, look, the sun is rising. Everything is so bright now. The darkness is finally over.
Well, that's sweet. They kissed. Nice. I didn't even have to tell them to, like I usually do. But I didn't... This is like the second time you guys have met. I'm sort of surprised. Anyway. We both did some sacrifice, made some sacrifice for the other. I think we can agree. So we're basically best buds now. Oh, does it play this on the credits too? Hell yeah! Get to pop out. Sweet! It's my favorite theme of the game, and it is one of the favorite themes of the game beyond only mine, so it makes sense to play it on the credits scene. That was weird that they were just like, and then they got together, but whatever. Yeah, we did Ninja Gaiden! Sweet! So yeah, where to begin? I mean, typically I'll just do my normal endgame review type thing where I start with visuals, then go music and sound design, then go gameplay and then narrative. So visually, I think this game looks pretty nice. It is, I will say, a little different looking on the CR2. I mean, just, you gotta understand, this is the device it was made for. And like, TVs like this, they just, the colors are a little brighter, so I'm gonna show you what I see. I've got a bit more of like a sky blue where you've got sort of like a sort of muddier like ocean. Colors all just look a little nicer on the original CRT, I think. But anyway, they're very vibrant and colorful, very cool. The idea of cutscenes, which kind of is closer to story, so I'll wait for a bit for that. But the cutscenes all look great. They're drawn lovely, and honestly, the fact that they drew them this nicely and then had to compress them in a way that would work on the NES by like giving them only so many colors and stuff, and still managed to get them this clear so you could still tell what all the scenes are is incredibly impressive in my opinion. The end. Yay! Thank you for playing. Thank you for making, you like 12 people whose names showed up on the screen. And see you next. Next Tecmo? Is it a joke or did you just not write that very well? They didn't have many people on the translation team. It was 1989. You gotta give them some slack. Either way, yeah, sorry, but what I should have said at the beginning of the review, by the way, was this game is awesome. I love it. That was so much fun. Cannot wait to play the other ones on the channel as well, especially 2, because that's the one I've played before and I know all the music and everything. You know what? I remembered that she was in it, so I knew that she didn't die at the end of this, and that was about all. But I do not remember anything about the narrative of the second one. All I know is that Ryu and Irene are in it, basically. Can I remember anything else? I mean, I assume we're after Foster, the head of the special CIA department. Irene's betrayed them for us, which is cool of her to do. So I'll get into this in the story, actually, but there's some stuff I'm confused about there. Anyway, but visuals look great. The pixel art is lovely. The characters are all distinct. There are none of them where you get that thing where it's like, I don't know what that's supposed to be. There are some where it's like, I don't know specifically what it's supposed to be, but it's like, yeah, okay, that's like a military person with big shoulder pads and a helmet. That person's got like a rocket launcher. That thing is like a large cat of some sort. I was saying bobcat earlier. Bobcats are a little smaller and only found in the States, so probably not them. It's probably something more like a cougar or a jaguar, considering they were in America and the Amazon. I mean, maybe some of the Americans just brought them in. It would make sense if some of the enemies we were fighting were Americans, considering Foster and the CIA did not have our best interests at heart, it seemed. But yeah, visuals, they're lovely. So some music and sound design. I will say, quite as many of the themes from this got like, were like super earworms in the same way that like 4 of the tracks from Ninja Gaiden 2, I like can hum endlessly. But I mean, this game's music is still pretty banging. The drum samples are, I mean, for the time, I think pretty nice. And of course, Unbreakable Determination is such a bop. That boss theme is insane. I don't know what it is they've done with the composition. Maybe it's just because I played Ninja Gaiden 2 when I was a kid, but like, that theme just gives me the chills. Like, all it takes is that first dun 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 dun, and I'm just like in adrenaline mode, no matter what the context is. And I believe it returns in 3 as well, Ninja Gaiden 3. Also, to that point, I never played any of the only Ninja Gaiden game I'd ever played before this was 2. I hadn't played any of like the 3D reboots, like Ninja Gaiden Sigma or whatever they're called. I believe they're regarded a little more sporadically. Some people think they're very good, some people think they're pretty bad. But they maintain their series' reputation for being fairly challenging. But anyway, returning to the music. In terms of sound design, so the music's great. Although not all of the themes were quite as memorable. Some of them were a little repetitive compared to, it's just kind of hard to compare Unbreakable Determination playing currently with the theme that comes right after in 4-3 that's just like slightly spooky. I mean, it definitely fits the mood, but not all bops are equal is the point anyway. Regarding the sound design, it's mostly pretty good. You got, I mean, in NES and this era, it's limited by the fact that they only had so many sound channels, so you have to cut out some of the music to do the sound effects, and vice versa. Sometimes the music sort of steps over the sound effects, so you can't really, not in terms of sound mixing, but just in terms of like the instruments Like if you do something that has a long sound effect, like the power up that goes, it'll only get out before the music needs to take that instrument back, whatever that sound channel back. So sometimes the sound effects cut out and sometimes the music cuts out. But there's not really much they can do about that. I suppose. I mean, I don't know what their limitations were. Perhaps they could have made it so that sound effects always beat out the music, which would have probably been smartest for game design, because there were some times where like I didn't hear a sound effect that I was expecting to hear, like a slash, but he did actually slash or whatever. This was mostly a beef I had in some of the bosses. I couldn't tell when I had done connected, because I shouldn't really even ever have to look at the boss's health bar if I know they all have 16 health, and I can know when is different than to know that when I'm hitting them. I can sort of keep a mental counter of how many times I've hit them. I just only check with the sound out of my peripheral, but I felt like there were a number of times where the sound effect I was expecting to indicate to me that I had hit them didn't play, or whatever. But on the whole, visuals, sound design, they're pretty top-notch, especially for the time. Moving into gameplay, this is a very gameplay-heavy game, so this is going to be the largest portion of our review. I freaking love the gameplay of this game. It's so electric. I compared it to Goemon's Great Adventure earlier, favorably, and I stick by that. They both have that same thing where, like, the music starts kicking up, and you're just, like, sprinting forward, jump attack, jump attack. It's nice and simple. There are two kinds of attack. Your sword, and then whatever power-up you have. And Goemon is I compare it to Goemon. Goemon is much the same way. Goemon's Great Adventure in particular. I haven't played many of the other ones. You have your melee weapon, and you have your ranged weapon. Nice and simple. Your ranged weapon, because it's useful to have, is limited in both games. You have to sort of stockpile them if you want to use lots. Well, technically in Goemon's Great Adventure, you have like a charge attack for your projectile, and Goemon gets the grappling hook. But point being, you have limited means of attack, but they're all designed smartly. And there was a situation I felt where each power-up that we had in this game was appropriate. I didn't feel like any of them were ever fully useless. I assume for like speedrunning, there are some that are more favored than others, unless you're doing a low % run where you like don't get power-ups. And that was one of the categories on the speedrun.com website, by the way. But I felt that I made use of every power-up in the game by the end, in some point or another, which is awesome. And I can't say that about many games where I felt each ability had a purpose and a time. Which is not to say I think it's bad when you're allowed to prefer one and just use it. And you were here. But I mean, I like that if you wanted to favor one of them, you could, and you would have viable reason to do so. But also, if you wanted to swap between them based on the situation like we were doing, you could do that also. And to that end, I very much like that if you save up, because the cost is not nothing on them, it's low enough that you can stockpile it if you're trying. So if you place a special emphasis on getting through an act without overusing your supers, you get a bunch more for the boss, which is awesome. I love that there's risk and reward there. The platforming just feels good. So this game and platformer like Super Mario Bros. Are very different. Super Mario Bros., shockingly, is a much more realistic kind of physics system. You kind of have to accelerate when you run, and likewise, you can only sort of jump. You have to kind of hold your jump if you're trying to go much higher. And once you jump, you can't really like steer so well in the air unless you were already sprinting one way. Whereas this game takes a much more fantasy approach, but I much prefer that in a platformer. To be clear, at this point, this is just preference. I don't think there's like anything design-wise really right or wrong objectively about this. In the same way that the sound design, I think it is probably approaches objective more to say that you should be able to you should consistently play the same sounds to give me the same cues on the grounds of sound design. Whereas this one's much more just a personal preference thing. I much prefer this than like the Mega Man, where you have a lot more air control after you jump, and you don't have to worry about like getting lots of like momentum on a sprint to do a good jump, because especially in a game like this that's a side scroller where you can only see so much, that's really tedious and annoying to do. If by the time you've gotten a sprint up, there may be 6 more enemies on screen. I would hate it if this game was like that. So the jumping just feels great. I like the idea of the climbing in this game also. I really appreciate that it's like, if there's no ladder, yes, you can cling to the wall because you have ninja skills, but you can't just like casually walk up it. You have to kind of do this sort of awkward jump and move back thing. So it's like, yes, you can climb walls because you're a kick-ass ninja, but there are limits to your abilities. So you have to, you can't just do it all the time and run past everything. You have to use your ninja abilities within reason and where it logically makes sense. So it activates your brain in that way to be like, is this worth climbing, or should I try and go around and take the stairs? You know, there are some circumstances where that is wise and where it isn't. It adds tactical play to even the idea of like just traversal before there are even any enemies. But then you add the enemies on top of it, and it makes it all so much more interesting. This game is very interesting with like patterns and stuff. In terms of enemy design, I like that each enemy more or less has just the one thing. They have one movement set and one way to attack generally, because then it's like you're trying to recognize which enemy is here. It's not like each enemy has a complex AI that will do a bunch of random stuff, so there's no way to really predict it. You just kind of have to run there swinging your sword. It's about the way patterns intermingle and how you, in what order you choose to do things, which enemies you're going to leave alone and say, not dealing with that, which ones you're going to try and dodge past, which ones you're going to try and attack, how you're going to try and attack them. This game has a very unique thing where it's like the sides of the map just obliterate enemies if they touch them. Well, it's weird because sometimes the enemies treat the walls of the screen as a wall, and they will bump off it and then walk forward again. And sometimes they will just go off screen and be gone. It's a little inconsistent, but it usually is the same for each monster type. Like the ones with the daggers always will walk off screen. The ones who are throwing maces always walk off screen. The ones with the machetes, I think the ones who don't throw the machetes but just walk back and forth swinging them, they treat it as a wall. So you can memorize it for each one. And what that means is if you get to a point where there's an enemy who's walking back and forth because they're bumping into the wall over again, who's only barely on screen, then you can time it so that when you jump towards them, they start walking with the screen, and you get a chance to, you get an in there. So I like that even the limitations of the game become tactically relevant. That said, this game, that uniqueness also means it's weird. There are weird things where if it's an enemy who moves towards you and you're standing where they spawn on the right side of the screen, or you're standing such that they spawn on the right side of the screen, there are a bunch of those where you can keep attacking them and they just keep spawning, which I can't tell if it's intentional. I think it must be, because how could you miss it? So it really depends on where they place it. Sometimes it was just annoying, because it meant basically there was only one really right pattern to take to get through it. And it was a real jerk move when they would put that one like just after a jump that you would have no way of knowing when the first time you jump. That's not nice. Don't be like that. This game definitely has a lot of things where it's like, there's no way you would know that the first time. Which is not necessarily always an evil, but I think it's like just a few too many times where there was the only way to get through this was to have known that was coming and done a specific thing. Particularly with respect to spawning enemies after you have to make a jump. Some weird hitboxes, some that are just straight up wrong, like the boss of Act 3, who throws the 3 bullets and jumps around. Their hitbox for their physical body, for them kicking you, is like half a foot off their body. It's just not right at all. With respect to the used sword, I imagine this was intentional, because how could they have missed it? It's weird, especially particularly in the air, but even on the ground, the fact that, like, I get that his hand is here and then the sword is there, so there's no sword through all of this, but like, he still does that. So like, what you're saying is he did this and his arm just like went through the enemy, and that didn't hurt either of us? Shouldn't it at least be that if I attack when they're too close, that puts me into knockback? I don't know, it really, to me, in my opinion, it shouldn't be that way at all. If they're close enough that they can hit me, my sword should hit them. Basically, in all scenarios, unless their weapon is longer than mine. Like, it shouldn't be a way that they can punch me and I can't hit them with the sword. I guess that's more realistic, but I didn't really feel that it mess with my strategy very often. It was more just like, I have to time this a second earlier than I really should because this is weird. So I wasn't super fond of that. So yeah, some of the hitboxes were just like, I don't think very right. But the sword one's a bit more debatable as to whether that was an intentional mechanic, and I imagine it was. I just don't feel it added very much, except for a bit of frustration. But then you look at some of the boss hitboxes, like the boss 3 in particular, and that's just like, that's not right. That shouldn't be that way. That was an accident or a deliberate troll, and neither is good. But it really doesn't hinder the whole experience too much because the rest of it's so electric and fun. So the checkpoint system is weird. I kept like getting confused about what it was. So as I understand it, the way it works is there are 6 acts, each of which is split up into a few stages, let's call them, the final of which is generally a boss. Each stage may have multiple screens, which is to say like a loading zone where you go in and it goes boom and then comes up with the next thing, or climb up a ladder and boom, comes up with the next thing, etc. If you dies, you go back to the beginning of your screen, whatever screen you were on, with the exception of if it's a boss, in which case you go back to the beginning of the stage. Likewise, game overing brings you back to the beginning of your stage. This is a bit odd because what that means is, say you have 3 lives, you get to the screen before a boss, you die there, you show up at that same screen. Oh, hey, the end finally ended. I didn't realize it would. Let's just stand here. Wow, that was a really long time. That was like 15 minutes. I didn't even try hitting start to end it because I was assumed it was going to stay there. Most games of this era often did, which I always used to hate because then it's like it wants me to kill the power before while the game is like on this sad the end screen. Nowadays, I like it a bit more because it's nice and it feels like finality. But when I was a kid, I was like, no, I don't want it to be over. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Suppose I had 3 lives. I get to the screen before a boss, I die there, I show up at that screen. I go into the boss, I die there, but I still have 1 life, but it sends me before the screen I was just at. So you're punished more for dying on a boss than the screen before the boss, even if there's no game over. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me, but to me the thing that makes most sense is put you at the screen before the boss. So you still have a bit of a time to run up and maybe grab a power-up or 2 before you're there. It does not make any sense to me at all that getting there with more lives does not mean anything. But at least it's sort of consistent up till Act 5, and that makes some sense. Even if it's kind of dumb. And otherwise it's fairly generous, that game overing only brings you to the beginning of the stage, not the whole act, which is what I think most games of this ilk and of this era would be tempted to do. And really, a lot of them would send you back to the whole beginning of the game, which I'm not sure I would have beaten this if that were the case. I certainly wouldn't have beaten it without swearing a lot more. But then you get to Act 6, which is already fairly long and pretty no joke. There's a lot of enemies and stuff. And each stage has... Well, 6-1 doesn't, but 6-2 and 6-3 both have like 4 screens with some fairly intense enemy formations and volume. And to that point, it's the same. Dying puts you back to the beginning of the screen, game overing puts you back to the beginning of that stage. But then, for some reason, I don't really get that whole last boss rush the way they decided to do that. If it were up to me, you would have had to do the Masked Devil, and then Jocchio, and then the demon, the resurrected demon, all in 1 life. And if you died there, it sent you back to the screen before that, and game overing there sent you back to 6-3. For some reason, they decided that regardless of if it's a game over or not, if you die there, not only does it kick you out of the boss fight and the screen before the boss fight, it kicks you out of 6-3 all the way back to 6-1 for dying once. But it does keep progress of which boss you've defeated. It just seems like a really weird way to implement that to me. I'm not too keen on that. Because it kind of made the last boss an anticlimax. I didn't feel like the adrenaline of 3 boss fights back to back, because I didn't have to do them back to back. What I felt was the monotony of repeating Act 6 over and over again. I was getting a little tired of that by the end. That's why I was like, I don't know, I felt like can you imagine how much more intense it would have been if like the adrenaline of 3 bosses back to back there of fighting your father, and then also not to mention like the somewhat emotional high of that, of your father, and then the villain you've been chasing this whole time, and then oh god, the terror of this demon. It would just been like a lot more all stacked together there. Would have been really sweet. So yeah, that's a fairly small change that could be made to, in my opinion, improve this game a hell of a lot. But ultimately, it's just really solid and good, man. I freaking love this game. No wonder it's an instant classic. Yeah, generally for the time, especially, like it's a little buggy here and there. There are weird things that happen that seem like they shouldn't, but for the time, fairly impressively together. For the time and the size of team, fairly impressively together, and showing a really good design sense through most of it. The attacks really like the skill cap is very high, basically, which should be evidenced by the fact that people have damageless speed runs. But that's the long and short of it. I think it's a really solid game. It looks and sounds nice. Oh, sorry, I didn't get to the narrative portion. Regarding narrative, it's not a very narrative-driven game, obviously. There's a narrative that sort of propels the whole thing. I think it's very serviceable for the time. For one thing, obviously cutscenes were not especially common at this time. You look at something like Super Mario Bros., it's like you hit start, it's just like, level 1, and you go. Usually if you're getting any story at all, it's via the instruction manual. So the fact that this game has like full cutscenes that tell a full plot beginning to end is great. It adds a lot of character to the whole experience. It's such a cool setting, too, this sort of, like, neo-retro-futuristic mixing of, like, hyper-technology and myths and magic and ninjas. It's just awesome. The fact that a ninja comes from Japan and then, like, gets embroiled with the CIA to take down some weird cultist who's resurrecting a demon, I mean, that's kick-ass. That's, like, pure 80s and 90s awesomeness. I dig it. Ryu is obviously such a cool, iconic character. Supporting cast is neat. They're all distinctive. It might just be due to the somewhat wonky translation here and there, but some of the stories' beats are a little confusing. So let me just to recap. Ryu's dad, Ken, went off doing something. You didn't know what. Really, he was trying to keep the statues out of the hands of bad people. It's kind of not clear if the ninja with the grayish suit in the intro who took Ken down was Jocchio or was one of Jocchio's underlings. It's not clear to me anyway. Or if there's someone we're going to meet in a later game. In any event, he got taken down. I guess we don't really know how his statue ended up in Irene's hands. Maybe that means that whoever took him down was a CIA ninja? I don't know. Anyway, Ryo goes to the States. Irene kidnaps him, being like, sorry, I had to do that, but I want to help you. I'm on your side. Here, take the darkness statue and go. And she imprisons him somewhere near Walter Smith's place, seemingly, so she kind of sends him there. I guess they're trying to say that Irene was not only a CIA agent, but also like a double agent in Jocchio's team or something, because I don't know why. Either that or they're suggesting that the CIA is who you're fighting in, like, Act 2? I don't know why it's like that, if so. Anyway, then you meet up with Walter, who tells you about that there are two statues. He's got one. I guess he doesn't mention that he's got one at that time, does he? He's just telling you what the darkness statue is about. Someone swipes your darkness statue, you go get it back, and by the time you come back, he's dying, and he's like, they took my light statue. You gotta go get them so that they don't get both. Even if they have one, it's dangerous. Then the CIA is like, come with us. She said, and Foster's all like, Irene was one of our people. So I don't know why I guess what they're saying is... So I think the idea is that Foster was hoping we would take down... I know I'm like thinking too hard about this for a game that was like not terribly story driven, but I think that what they're trying to get at is that... So Jocchio wanted both statues to resurrect the demon. Foster wanted the statues probably for a similar power-hungry purpose. So he sent us to kill Jocchio because Jocchio's a big threat and he thinks maybe we could do it. And, like, what's the harm in sending us to do it? So he sends us so that we can get the statues back, and then he's gonna betray us, have Irene kill us, and then take the statues for him. But if that's the case, I don't know why he would have given up the darkness statue to us. We didn't need it to fight Jocchio. So that suggests to me that Irene knew Foster was full of shite and tried to sneak the darkness statue to us. So she was playing double agent for our side the whole time, which would explain the romance between them a bit more. Because then Ryo would have realized that and been like, oh, she was a good guy just like me, and then they both were so enamored by each other's good guyness, and then kissy. Because otherwise it seems a little weird that they get together at the end. If she was like actively trying to betray him the whole time. So I think that's the idea, is Irene knew that Jocchio and Foster were bad news the whole time, and so she was trying to act as part of the CIA, but secretly gave us the statue to hold on to because she didn't want it getting into Foster's hands. So she was always kind of like the good guy. She and Ryu. Anyway, so Walter dies. The CIA is like, go get Jocchio. We'll drop you into the Amazon. You go there. The Molth guy is all like, I fought your dad, but I didn't kill him, so they kidnapped him and then used him to make the masked bad guy. You get to the top, fight to get Jocchio. Oh no, yeah, you get towards there. Sorry, this is before Molth, actually. You get there, and Jocchio's got Irene and is like, give me the statue, and you do. And so then he gets both of them. He's able to resurrect the demon. It's just going to take some more time. But then you get back up there and beat the snot out of him before he has a chance to really do it. But then he just about gets the demon resurrected at that point. But it's kind of like half-made because I guess you interrupted him. But you ruin the whole thing. Ken sadly perishes in the rubble, seemingly. You and Irene get out. And then Foster's all like, kill him. And then she's like, no. So I think that's the idea, is you were just going here because your dad told you to, because your dad was trying to get you to protect Walter and keep the statues out of evil hands. I guess Irene must have been on Team Jocchio, because how else could she have gotten the darkness statue from Ken to then pass on to you? So she was on everyone's side, but really only Ryu's. That's where I think it lands. Anyway, so it's just like a chain of logical puzzles that I hadn't really worked out there. But if that's not what the story is, that's the story that makes the most, that I like the most, is that she was double agenting for the CIA and Jocchio's crew, conspiring to get the statue into Ryu's hands, because not that she necessarily knew he was a good guy, but it was better than the other two, who definitely were bad guys, I guess. And that makes that kind of makes their partnership and their romance a little more compelling. Small, even though they only have like 2 scenes together. But anyway, having completed that, yeah. The long and short of it is it's an excellent game. I love the way it looks and sounds. I love the way it feels to play. There are a few very questionable choices in the checkpointing and hitboxes, but not nearly enough to detract from the experience so much that I would have wanted to stop playing by any stretch. And it's really exciting for me as someone who was fond of Ninja Gaiden 2, because now it's like the next time I get to play Ninja Gaiden 2, I'll have actual context to what's going on, for one thing. But also, I'll get to play Ninja Gaiden 2, and it's great. But with Ninja Gaiden complete, the playthrough order now goes Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair, Okami, Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair, and the Dark Pictures Anthology Man of Medan. Is it Man of Medan or Man of Medan? I don't actually know what a Medan is, or where it is. Must be Man of Medan. That sounds nice to say. We're beginning Man of Medan. We're heading into spooky season sometime soon. I mean, really, any time of the year is spooky season if you try hard enough, but... So Dark Pictures is going to be appropriate for that, in short. I hear it's weird. I hear it's scary. I hear you have to play it through a few times to get the full experience, whether that manifests itself as multiple endings or multiple routes, or like a Resident Evil thing where you got to play one character than the other or something. Not sure. I don't know if it's considered particularly hard. The thing is, I find most survival horror games hard because I'm too scared to do anything smart. So, even if it's like, I know logically I should creep around this monster and go to that door, I'm like, oh, I'm scared, I just have to close my eyes and tap buttons, and then I just do the wrong things, and it takes forever for me to get anywhere. So it's probably going to be a pretty long playthrough, I would guess. And after one of those games is done, not actually sure what it'll be. It'll probably be okay. It won't be Danganronpa, I'm pretty sure. We still got a fair ways to go in that. Probably like 40-ish more episodes. Maybe more like 35. In Okami, we've got probably about 8 or 10 more. And Dark Pictures Man of Medan, I think it's supposed to be about like... Well, one playthrough I think is supposed to be like 8 hours long-ish. And doing all of it, I have no idea really how long it'll take. I'm gonna guess ballparking it 20 episodes or so, considering I usually do roughly 45 minutes to an hour per episode. So it's probably Okami that's finishing next. But either way, once one of those three is done, we'll be starting Ib. It's an RPG Maker horror game. I don't know much more about it. It takes place in like an old mansion or something. It's kind of creepy, kind of cute, kind of weird. It seems like just up my alley anyway, but I know nothing else about it really. So I'm pretty keen on that. And all that can now go off the screen. We beat Ninja Gaiden, look at us! I didn't do it particularly fast, but we did do it. Oh yeah, one thing I should have mentioned in the gameplay part of that review that I didn't really. The boss designs are usually pretty good. It's like a simple movement pattern with a simple form of attack, but the way the battlefield is shaped or the speed at which the creature moves lends dynamicism to that. Like the boss of World 3 is intense because what it's doing is really simple, but it does it just fast enough that you can't, at least I couldn't really sink into a comfortable pattern with it. I had something of a pattern, but I was always kind of a step behind it, so it really felt like I was on my toes the whole time. Probably my favorite boss was the Masked Devil, actually, even though we only did it once and it wasn't all that difficult. I just like the idea of this thing with a bunch of projectiles swirling around it, but you're not actually even trying to hit them, you're trying to go after this source of its power in the center of the field while it kind of chases you around. There's just something interesting to the flow of that. And the idea that you can basically hide up on the wall. I do like fights where, because you're a ninja, you're actually able to effectively hide from the boss as long as you want, but you have to get close to them if you want to deal damage, so you need to sort of control the pacing of the fight in that way. Anyway, good game. We did it. Only took 4 episodes. Pretty pumped about that. Don't know what the viewing experience will be like for these because there was like a lot of time I could cut out there. And that is all for now. Thank you so very much for coming around to this video and this playthrough. Hopefully I'll see you around. Admiral's gonna be out of here now. Peace! Goodbye. Bye. See you.
Goodbye, everyone. Until our next rendezvous. Rendezvous is a French word, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense for a ninja to say, but you guys all had my back during my adventure, and I'm really thankful for that. I'm here too, also. Irene said a thing. Cool. The gang's all here. All 2 of us. We're the only ones we can trust. I know. Everyone else in this world sucks.
It almost makes no sense to just, well, if we just put them all one at a time into the machine, we'll definitely get, we'll almost definitely get, all the key items too. But I was saying, just because we have so many, we could probably just manually buy all the key items just so we can be sure we have them for whenever they become relevant, because we have no idea when